A smirk spread across the rich kid's face as he cornered the three girls. He thought they were easy prey. He never imagined the quiet barista watching from the trail had a kill count higher than his GPA. Anya Sharma's life was divided into two distinct realities, the before and the now. The before was a world of sterile grays and night vision greens, the scent of cordite and ozone, the hum of the Black Hawk's rotors slicing through the thin mountain air. 15 years of service, fast-tracked into the elite ranks of the Army's 1st Special Forces Operational Detachment Delta. As a member of a combat support team, codenamed Nyx, she had operated in the shadows of 27 countries, a ghost with a rifle. The before was a life measured in heartbeats and confirmed targets. The now was a world of rich, earthy browns and creamy whites, the aroma of freshly ground coffee beans, the gentle hiss of the espresso machine at her cafe, the daily grind. The now is a life measured in customer smiles. 3 years ago, after a mission in Afghanistan went sideways, she had walked away. A female translator, a girl no older than the one she was watching now, had been lost because command hesitated. The guilt from that failure was a quiet, constant companion. Anya had made a vow on the flight home. No more violence. She would build something instead of breaking it. This afternoon, she'd come to the Appalachian foothills for that very reason, to build peace within herself. The trail snaked through a cathedral of maple and oak, sunlight dappling the forest floor. It was an escape from the ghosts until she heard the laughter curdle into screams. Chloe, Olivia, and Sophia were having a perfect training run. All three were star runners on the university's cross-country team, their lean frames clad in vibrant university colors. They'd found a clearing by a stream, a perfect spot to cool down. "This place is incredible," Chloe said, pulling her fiery red hair into a high ponytail. "Exactly what we needed before the regionals." Sophia, the team captain, was laying out protein bars and water bottles. "Hydrate up. We pushed hard today." Their youthful energy was a bright, pure thing in the ancient woods. That's when the growl of engines shattered the tranquility. A matte black Mercedes G-Wagon and a heavily modified Ford Bronco churned up the dirt path. Out stepped Caleb Vance, with the easy arrogance that comes from a lifetime of never hearing the word no. As the heir to his father's private equity empire, he moved like he owned the ground he walked on. With him were 5 others: Leo, Finn, Mason, Noah, and Liam, all cut from the same cloth of privilege. Well, look what we have here," Caleb announced, his voice carrying an unpleasant edge. His friends fanned out, their expensive hiking boots a mockery of the natural setting. Chloe was the first to sense the danger. "Can we help you?" she asked, her voice steady. "Oh, I think you can," Leo smirked, blocking their path back to the main trail. "This part of the woods has a toll, you see." From 100 yards away, hidden by the foliage, Anya Sharma watched. Her first instinct, the civilian one, was to call for help. She pulled out her phone, her fingers finding 911. 911, what's your emergency? A group of men are harassing 3 young women in the national park, near the Laurel Creek trailhead. We're dispatching a unit, ma'am. ETA is approximately 20 minutes. 20 minutes. The words hit Anya like a physical blow. An eternity. The image of the Afghan translator, her eyes wide with terror, flashed in Anya's mind. Command had said await. They had waited, and she had died. The screams from the clearing grew sharper. Caleb had grabbed Chloe's arm. The other men were closing in. Not again. Not on my watch. The vow she made 3 years ago shattered. Sometimes, to build peace, you first had to go to war. The barista was gone. Nyx was back. Anya moved from the tree line with a silence that was unnatural, her feet making no sound on the leaf-strewn ground. She stopped at the edge of the clearing, her presence a sudden, jarring note in the escalating tension. "That's far enough," she said. Her voice wasn't loud, but it cut through the air with the chilling clarity of a blade. All 6 men turned. They saw a woman, maybe 30, with a lean build you'd see in a yoga studio. She looked utterly non-threatening. Caleb Vance let out a short, derisive laugh. "Look what we have here, boys. A yoga mom coming to the rescue." "You lost, sweetheart," his friend snickered. Mason, the largest of the group, took a step towards her. Beat it, lady. This is a private party. Anya's cool. Gray eyes didn't even flicker. I'm giving you one chance, she said, her tone flat, devoid of emotion. Walk away. Now. The sheer calm of her command seemed to infuriate Caleb. Or what? You gonna call the manager? He turned back to Chloe, tightening his grip. We're busy here. That was the last mistake he'd make. Anya closed the 20-foot distance in a blur of motion that defied logic. It wasn't a run. It was an explosion. Before Caleb could register her movement, she was on him. Her left hand shot out, fingers extended, striking a precise point on his neck, the vagus nerve. Caleb's eyes went wide with shock as his body's systems momentarily short-circuited. His grip on Chloe vanished. As he staggered back, Anya's right hand latched on his wrist, twisting in a textbook joint manipulation that forced him to his knees. Leo, reacting on instinct, swung a clumsy haymaker. Anya flowed around it, using his momentum against him. Her elbow drove into his floating ribs. The air rushed out of his lungs. Before he could recover, she swept his leg, destroying his center of gravity. He hit the ground hard. 2 down. For seconds. Finn and Noah charged together. It was a foolish move. Anya met Finn's charge, her palm striking his chin. Simultaneously, she pivoted, her leg lashing out in a low kick that buckled Noah's knee. They collapsed in a heap. Mason, the big one, roared and lunged. Anya moved in, under his grasp, her shoulder driving into his solar plexus. As he doubled over, she cupped the back of his head and drove his face into her rising knee. The crunch of cartilage was sickeningly loud. Liam, the last one, stood frozen in terror. He saw his 5 friends on the ground and the woman standing calmly amidst the chaos. He turned and ran. Anya let him go. The threat was neutralized. She glanced at her watch. 28 seconds. A little rusty. She turned to the 3 girls, huddled together in awe. Are you okay? Anya's voice was soft now, the chilling edge completely gone. A sudden wave of dizziness washed over Anya. The world seemed to narrow, the sounds of the forest fading. Auditory exclusion, tunnel vision, the physiological backlash of extreme adrenaline after years of dormancy. Her body had performed, but the system wasn't calibrated. For a half second, she was vulnerable, and a half second was all it took. Caleb Vance, fueled by humiliation and rage, had scrambled to his feet. In his hand, he clutched a flat, sharp-edged piece of shale. He lunged from her blind spot, swinging wildly. Anya's instincts screamed a warning. She twisted, but not fast enough. The jagged rock sliced across her left forearm, opening a deep, bloody gash. Pain, white-hot and sharp, flared through her. The shock of the wound broke the adrenaline's hold, but cost her momentum. The other men, seeing a chance, began to stir. Hey, what the hell is going on here? The voice was a force of nature, a parade ground roar that boomed through the trees. A man emerged from the trail. He was tall, built like a fortress, and wore a USMC t-shirt stretched tight across his chest. His eyes, hard as steel, took in the scene in a single glance. The terrified girls, the groaning men, and Anya, standing her ground with blood dripping from her arm. Caleb panicked. Nothing. She attacked us. The Marine ignored him, his focus on Anya. He saw the professional stance, the look in her eyes. This was no civilian. Ma'am, are you all right? He asked, his voice dropping to a respectful tone. I'm fine, Anya said, her voice tight with pain. Just a disagreement. The Marine's eyes narrowed. He strode forward, his presence alone making the men shrink back. Gunnery Sergeant Cole Evans, he said. I'm on a memorial hike for a fallen brother. Looks like I stumbled into something else. He looked pointedly at the gash on her arm. That's some disagreement. Anya met his gaze. He would understand. Anya Sharma, she replied. Formerly attached to 1st SFODED, CST. Cole Evans's expression shifted instantly. The professional respect deepened into something bordering on reverence. 1st SFODED, Delta Force. CST meant she was one of the legendary female operators. He was in the presence of a ghost. "Understood, ma'am," he said, his voice now hushed. He turned his head slowly, his gaze sweeping over Caleb and his crew like a weapon system locking onto targets. "Did these punks do this to you?" His question hung in the air, no longer a query, but a verdict. The arrival of the park rangers ensured that Caleb and his friends were taken into custody. But Anya knew this was only the beginning. The next day, Preston Vance came to her cafe. He was impeccably dressed, his tone smooth as aged whiskey. "Ms. Sharma," he began, "I am here to apologize for my son's regrettable behavior." He placed a pristine envelope on the counter. "I'd like to offer a generous investment of $250,000. Consider it an apology and a way to ensure this unfortunate incident doesn't need to proceed any further." It was a transaction. He was buying her silence. "My son is a lawyer, Mr. Vance," Anya replied, her voice cold. "We won't be accepting your investment." Preston Vance's smile never faltered, but his eyes went hard. "A pity," he said softly. The war began the next day, online and in the media. A crisis PR firm went to work. Anya's personal information was leaked. Her military service was twisted into a weapon against her. The narrative, pushed by an army of bots, was insidious. Anya Sharma, a troubled veteran with severe PTSD, had violently assaulted 6 innocent young men. Local news outlets, fed anonymous tips, ran stories questioning her stability. The Daily Grind's online review pages were flooded with 1-star ratings and vile comments. Health inspectors, prompted by bogus complaints, showed up at her door. The court case was a farce. The judge, a man who played golf with Preston Vance, looked at Anya with open disdain. Preston Vance had hired the city's most ruthless lawyer, Marcus Thorne. When Chloe, Olivia, and Sophia took the stand, Thorne tore them apart. He projected their Instagram photos onto a large screen. "Miss Miller," he'd asked Chloe, "is this you? Does this look like the behavior of a terrified victim, or someone who enjoys attention?" The girls left the courtroom in tears. When Anya testified, Thorne painted her as the aggressor. "A highly trained special operator," he thundered, "a lethal weapon who used brutal force against 6 unarmed civilians." The verdict was a foregone conclusion. Caleb and his friends received 6 months of probation. The charges against Anya were dropped, but in a final, cruel twist, the judge ordered her to pay the defendants staggering legal fees. Leaving the courthouse, Preston Vance was waiting. "I did warn you, Ms. Sharma," he said. "Some fights aren't worth having." Anya didn't say a word, but Preston Vance had made a critical error. He thought he had beaten a small-town barista. He had no idea he had just cornered one of the most dangerous predators the United States military had ever produced. And she was done being the prey. That night, sitting in her empty cafe, the court order lying on the table like a death sentence, Anya made a decision. They had used their system to crush her. It was time to use hers. She scrolled through her phone to a number she hadn't dialed in 3 years. It rang once. Harding. The voice was gravelly, accustomed to command. "General, this is Nix." There was a pause. General Harding had been her commander at JSOC. "Nix," he finally said, his tone shifting to concern. "I trust you're not calling to discuss the weather." "No, sir," Anya said. "I've run into an asymmetric problem on the home front. I need some intelligence support." The coded language was all Harding needed. Asymmetric problem meant a powerful, entrenched opponent. Intelligence support was a request to unleash the formidable resources of his network. "Give me the target package," he said, without hesitation. Anya laid it all out. Preston Vance, his firm, his son, and the families of the other boys. "Consider it done," Harding said. "Go dark. I'll handle the rest." The retribution was not a clumsy bludgeon. It was a surgical strike. On Monday, an anonymous, detailed tip about offshore accounts and money laundering landed on the desk of a senior FBI agent. By noon, federal agents were raiding the offices of Vance Capital. On Tuesday, the IRS announced a full-scale forensic audit of the Vance family's charitable foundation. Simultaneously, the SEC launched an investigation into suspiciously timed trades made by Vance's partners. By Friday, the empire was crumbling. The news, once controlled by Vance's PR machine, turned on him. Headlines screamed of corruption, insider trading, and tax fraud. Preston Vance's world was burning. Saturday morning, Anya's phone rang. It was an unknown number. "You," a ragged voice whispered. It was Preston Vance. "This is you. The FBI, the IRS, this is all your work." Anya remained silent. "Please," he begged, his voice cracking. "Stop this. My son is facing federal charges. My company is finished. My life is ruined. Please, just make it stop." Anya finally spoke, her voice as calm and cold as it had been in the forest. "2 weeks ago, Mr. Vance, you told me some fights aren't worth having. You were wrong. This one was." She hung up the phone. The lion had woken up, and the hunt was over. A month later, the door to the Daily Grind opened. Caleb Vance stood there alone. He was thinner, the arrogance gone, replaced by a haunted look. 30 days in a federal holding cell had taught him a lesson his father never could. "Ms. Sharma," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "I am so sorry. What I did to those girls, to you, it was monstrous. In jail, for the first time, I was powerless. I was scared, and I realized that's how I made those girls feel." Anya listened, her expression unreadable. She knew the difference between true remorse and a performance. This felt real. "Please," he said, his voice breaking. "Is there anything I can do to make it right?" Anya looked at him for a long moment. Vengeance had been served, but it felt hollow. Justice wasn't just about punishment. It was about healing. "Yes," she said finally. "I will forgive you on 2 conditions. First, you and your 5 friends will meet with Chloe, Olivia, and Sophia, and you will apologize to their faces. Second, you will collectively use what's left of your trust funds to establish a permanent, pro bono legal aid fund for the downtown women's shelter." Caleb looked stunned, then nodded slowly. "Done," he said without hesitation. 6 months later, the Daily Grind was more than a cafe. It was the heart of the community. Business was booming, supported by a fiercely loyal customer base of locals, veterans, and cops. On the community board, flyers for a veteran support group and a women's self-defense class hung side by side. Caleb and his friends made good on their promise, becoming regular volunteers at the shelter. One afternoon, Anya was behind the counter, patiently showing a new teenage employee how to pour the perfect latte art. She looked around at the bustling cafe, at the sounds of laughter and conversation, at the small, peaceful world she had fought for and then rebuilt. Her purpose was no longer about surviving in the shadows. It was about creating light. She was no longer just Nyx, the warrior. She was Anya, the barista, the mentor, the guardian. True power isn't found in the ability to destroy your enemies, but in the choice to rebuild them. It's the courage not just to fight, but to forgive. What do you think of Anya's choice? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and please, always comment with respect. If you were moved by this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more.